Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today's video devo is called Calling Out to Jesus. We're going to be looking at several different verses. Unless I state otherwise, I will be coming out of the New King James Version. Please take the time to go back and read the stories and the verses and study them for yourselves. The first set of verses we're going to look at is Mark chapter 9, verses 14 to 29. And this is a story about a father asking Jesus to heal his boy. The main verses we are focusing on are Mark 9, 23 to 24. But I want just to back up a little bit to verse 22, and especially the last piece of that. But I'm going to read the whole verses. So I'm going to read Mark chapter 9, verses 22 to 24. And often he has thrown him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. Pay attention. But if he can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Jesus said to him, if you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. Immediately the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief. See the last sentence in verse 22. But if he can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. He's saying, I don't know if you can do this, but if you can do this, have compassion and help us. That's what the Father is saying. So that's the Father's unbelief. But I love how Mark 9 verse 23, the New Living Translation reads. Because it's like Jesus is saying, do you believe me or not? Here's how the verse reads in the New Living Translation. What do you mean if I can? Jesus asked. Anything is possible if a person believes. I don't know about you, but I can hear Jesus saying that now. What do you mean? If I can. What are you saying? What's your belief? But here comes the best part. In verse 24, where the father's honest response of recognizing he believed. Take a look at verse 24, where he says, Lord, I believe. There he's recognizing his belief. But yet he knows his belief was imperfect, because he said, help my unbelief. And this represented the first step in pleasing God. And then he followed up by crying out to God, which calls Jesus to action. Here's another example where calling out to Jesus causes him to respond. Let's go to Mark chapter 6, verses 45 to 52, and I will read this to you. Let me get that first. And this is where Jesus walks the sea. Immediately he made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he sent the multitude away. And when he had sent them away, he departed to the mountain to pray. Now when evening came, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. Then he saw them straining at rowing. Pay attention. Here comes the important part. For the wind was against them. Now about the fourth watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea, and would have passed them by. And when they saw him walking on the sea, they supposed it was a ghost, and cried out. For they all saw him and were troubled. But immediately he talked with them and said to them, Be of good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid. Then he went up into the boat to them, and the wind ceased. And they were greatly amazed in themselves beyond measure, and marveled. For they did not understand about the loaves, because their heart was hardened. Now this is right after Jesus took the loaves and the fishes and fed the multitude. But the most important part in verse 48, where it says, He came to them walking on the sea, and would have passed them by. Well, that shows that Jesus had no intent on stopping. He was going to keep on walking. But the disciples cry. When the disciples cried out, that is what caused them to stop at the boat. There are a lot of verses in Psalms of David crying out to God. Here are two examples. Psalm 3 and 4. I cried to the Lord with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill. Psalm 18:6. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried out to my God. He heard my voice from his temple, and my cry came before him, even to his ears. So that right there should let you know that God does hear your cry. He does hear your prayers. So, you see, God knows what is going on in the world. He knows the situation that you're in, and so forth. But it is your cry that calls him to action. He wants to hear from you. He wants that relationship with you. You know, just as you would talk to a friend or a family, that is how he wants you to communicate with him. He wants you to cry out to him. Whatever you're going through him, call out to him. You may only be able to say, Jesus, help me. And that's all it takes. And it may take more than one time of you saying, Jesus, help me. You may have to say it however long you are going through what you're going through, the storm or the situation. But rest in knowing when you call out to him, he does hear you, and he will help you. He's waiting to hear from you, to ask for His help. The question is, are you willing to call out to Him and admit that you need His help? Remember, He is always with you and will see you through whatever you're going through. You just need to call out to Him. And if you need prayer, please comment below or send me a message, and I'll be more than glad to pray with you. Till next time, take care and God bless.